Good morning, solo of the month. It is Saturday, November 9th, and today we are working on a group practice, masterclass style sometimes, but a great opportunity to ask your questions, play the parts where you have concerns, focusing on the Chopin, Variations on a Theme by Rossini, and the William Grant Still Summerland. And we'd like to take a moment and say thank you to Flute World for being our partner in this event right now. So if you have sheet music, accessories, or instruments that you're considering purchasing, do please check out fluteworld.com. And you can use code at checkout Allison 2024 for 10% off sheet music and accessories and free shipping for your instrument trials. With no further ado, let's jump into the music. So we'll start with the Summerland piece by William Grant Still. And I'd first like to say, this is a beautiful piece that I have only gotten this week. And I know there's some shipping delays for some people who ordered this. And I've never heard it before, and I find it absolutely delightful. So how many of you have had experience with this piece prior to November 2024, whatever year it is now? A couple of you played it or heard it? Very cool. Would any of you who are working in that like to just play a part of it to start off the class? Just jump right in, the water is great. I know it's a little tough when it's 8 a.m. to want to pull out your flute and do something bright and early. So were there any hands to starting off with a little demonstration? If not, we'll just do a little bit of talking through it. So this piece has some lovely, delicate moments when it's going to be really useful to practice dynamics and intonation alongside dynamics. So for example, it starts with that opening B above the staff. And if you play your moist long tones the way they're written in the book, it might feel very much like that B natural that you're starting maybe some of your tone with. So it could be very familiar starting of this piece, if that is a warm-up that you frequently do, or it could feel a little bit foreign. So one of the warm-ups that I like to do to prepare myself for this delicate type of playing actually is the one-handed warm-up that some of you have seen me do over the past few years, where I take my foot joint off, so it's easier to hold the barrel of my flute in my right hand, and I can only then play left-handed notes with my left hand, and do pitch bends. Focusing on my lips. I can do that with the chromatic notes. G through C sharp in both octaves. So do that as part of my warm-up, and then before I play this piece, I might also approach that B natural. So I'm working on keeping the stability of the flute and making sure that my dynamic is where I want it to be, the tone color is where I want it to be, and the pitch is where I want it to be. Even though that example, I did play the first two measures of this melody, because I wasn't playing in my normal flute playing setup, my mind wasn't in play mode, it was in a practicing mode. So it's shifting my mindset into I am working on these specific things. Then when I do put my flute fully together and get ready to play, I can go into play mode, but I have the confidence that I've already practiced that entrance. And so on and so forth. Would anybody like to demonstrate the opening couple of phrases of the William Grant Still Summerland now that we're a little bit less afraid, or maybe you've played a few notes? Or do any of you want to practice that one-handed warm-up and share out so we can discuss what it is that you're feeling and trying and doing? I know I ask too many questions at once. Okay, one thing at a time, Matthew. Can we start with somebody just trying the one-handed warm-up, especially if you've never tried it before? That way we can discuss what's going well, what works, feels easy, and what doesn't feel easy, and how to approach it maybe differently. Anyone?
Could you demonstrate that again? I'm not sure what you did.
Yeah,
You
and I'm
took the
speed
foot.
talking
You
now
took
because,
the
as I
foot.
mentioned, I have two drinks in front of me, and one of which is coffee.
I
So,
don't
um,
understand what you did.
I am a fast talker.
You
All right.
took the foot joint off. You grabbed the flute with your right hand. Your right.
Yeah.
You grabbed the flute with your right hand,
Yep. I'll re-describe it in just a
and
second.
you. Oh, okay. And you played with your.
And I'll share the video out. But the purpose of this is to find the lip flexibility for intonation. So that way, because we can affect intonation with lips, air direction, and dynamics, and all of these things. If I want to be able to play piano, then I want to work on the lip flexibility for my intonation. So that way, I can play in tune, soft or loud. So the lip flexibility for intonation, you can also just do with your head joint. And kind of feel in your face what kind of movement you can do while still maintaining a core tone. When you first try using lip flexibility for intonation, chances are you're going to go over one way or under the other way and you're going to lose your tone. So the more we do it, the more we find how far we can push it. So Joan, how about we try just the head joint then?
Uh,
That's a more simplified starting point.
I don't know.
Exactly. That was fantastic. And part
It
of the reason I
was.
love these exercises is because a lot of students, especially when they want to lower the pitch, will roll their flute in and then their tone goes away, it gets really covered. Or if they want to raise their pitch, they roll the flute out. That is a way that we can affect our intonation, but it's the last step for me. That'd be the last thing that I would do. So Joan, then the next step is with the foot joint off, and that just helps with balance.
And the head
And
joint
then
on.
head joint on. So we have the head joint and the
Head joint
body.
is on. Now, what do I do?
I'm
What?
gonna. You're gonna grab,
That your right
hold
hand?
the flute if you want with your left hand, but the right hand will grab the barrel. And this is for stability because we want to avoid the rolling of the flute. So the right hand holding the flute keeps it stable on our face, and then we are isolating what parts of our body we're using for intonation.
What are you doing with your left hand? Nothing.
So the left hand can figure the notes G, A
Okay.
flat, A, thumb B flat, B natural, C, or C sharp in both octaves. So just keeping one note, I'm thinking, oh, oh, ee, oh. And yes, I know I'm moving into a little bit of a smile, which your teachers probably tell you not to do, except if you're going flat, then maybe we do it. Great, Joan. So how did it feel to try that?
It was fine. I mean, it was once I got the. I don't know if I got as low as you did, though. I don't think I did.
Well, and it's all a
I,
process. So the first time I did pitch bends was with the Trevor Y book where he's got that tune, the ba 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 ba, and I was getting nowhere near the step that he was suggesting that you can do, but we keep working.
oh, it bent a
Good.
little, but I don't think it bent as far as you. You got like a whole tone bent, I think, or
Yeah.
close to it.
So when
I
I
don't think.
really work and do all of the things, I can sometimes get as low as a minor third or three half steps down. It's you can bend down pretty far. I can't only bend up maybe a whole step at my biggest.
So what do you do?
So
Turn down your mouth corners? Is that
yeah,
what you
so
did?
for my face, I'm thinking oh to bend it down. Saddest clown ever.
I don't know. I think
And then
I can bend my mouth enough.
and when I go to the E shape, my teeth do come a little forward. Oh.
I'm not
So
succeeding at
so
that.
figuring out what in your face lowers pitch and what in your face raises pitch is a great way of just understanding what kind of options are available to your body. So
Mhm.
this beginning B natural is piano. What is our general dynamic? What is our general intonation tendency at a piano dynamic? Flutes are usually flat when we're playing soft, and so I might think about approaching that first note in a slightly more lifted pitch, so that way I'm going to hopefully be centered. And then as I crescendo through the phrase, or if I crescendo, or the next phrase at measure 20, which is a little bit louder, we tend to be a little bit sharper sometimes, so thinking a little bit lower. So great, Joan. Where else in this piece do you think it might be important to look at intonation and how to manage that better? I brought it up for the beginning, but there's one place for sure that intonation is going to be something that we want to make sure that we're not going crazy on. And that would be the last 2 or 3 lines where we're moving up to the high G, high A, yes, Yvonne, the high B natural up there. So working this lip flexibility before you start playing is going to give you those control. So I don't know if you can see on my tablet, I've got Summerland and a tuner side by side. So G is one of the high notes there. I can also then two-hand, the high G you can practice one-handed also. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you're going to be being in the realm of in tune with those high notes. Does anybody want to try the one-handed? Does anybody want to play something from Summerland? Please unmute or type in and I'll call out your name if that's more comfortable. Sadie, you've got your flute out. Will you show us something?
Sure. Let me do the sound. I'll just play the first intro there.
Gorgeous and brave. Thank you, Sadie, for the demonstration. Can we first of all have everybody appreciate Sadie for demonstrating and the beauty that she provided and shared with us and connected with us. Awesome, Sadie. So that was great. How do you feel about it? What was something that you liked about what we just played?
I love this piece. So I don't know. I love the resonance that the lower notes can have when you get down to like measure 5, 6. That opening B is hard. It is really hard. It's like, trying to not crack it from the outset, and then like intonation is definitely a struggle. Not my favorite note to start on, but
yeah, and it's interesting. It's not my favorite note to start on either, despite the fact that I did do the moist long tone starting to be natural for a couple decades probably. So you would think that I would feel comfortable with it.
Right.
So does anybody have any thoughts for Sadie on ways of approaching that first B natural with more confidence, besides practicing your long tones 3 times a day instead of twice a day like we're all doing? What are some other approaches you all do for starting a note above the staff like that? Or starting a delicate piano note? While you're all thinking, I started with my lips. Thank you, Laurel. Would you demonstrate? Are you able to demonstrate where you are? Yvonne says, I hear it in my head first. That's what I was going to mention too. Hi, Laurel.
Okay. Yeah. No, I don't even have my flute here, so I'm multitasking while I'm talking to you. I didn't think I was going to be able to join at last minute. I think I can, but I'm multitasking in my kitchen. I sometimes will start the note just by, rather than a tongue attack, just a lip attack. If it's soft, I don't know if that's appropriate or not, but I've played for 50 some years and I've done that. So, yeah.
Great. And Sadie, is that something that you've tried, or is that something that you are currently doing?
No, so I'll definitely have to give that a try.
Yeah, let's try it now. So I think what Laurel's describing with the lip start is almost thinking like you're thinking the word poo, like the kind of the French P-E-U, poo.
Uh-huh.
And it's interesting because I hear so many people say, is it okay to start without my tongue?
Yeah.
Does it sound good? Then the answer is yes, right? So a poo. So what that does is makes the aperture, the hole of your lips, smaller. The problem with this poo start is we still have to think about the rest of the oral cavity and throat being nice and open. So we want, generally speaking, an open column from the source of our air, from the source of our sound's energy, all the way through the throat and mouth to the lips. And then the lips are what compresses the air. That will keep the air pressure consistent throughout until it reaches the lips, and then it'll have faster air pressure just by having the aperture nice and small. So the poo shape is starting with the lips closed, which is a 0 aperture, right? And then you will only open it as much as you need to get that tone to speak. So let's try that a few more times. But this time, can you try yawning in or thinking about opening this part of your face?
Okay.
Starting to feel like it's getting more confidence. And then Yvonne mentioned hearing it in her head first, and I'm wearing earbuds, so this won't be effective for me. But sometimes when I'm walking on stage and I have a delicate beginning, I'll actually do a key click in my ear of what the first pitch is, and then okay, I know what that first pitch is going to sound like, and that also helps build the confidence. The other thing is just repetition. If you can pick up your flute and play a B natural 25 times a day throughout the day, at 8 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock at night. So a lot of the repetition practice isn't just because our teachers are trying to fill time of day. Some of the repetition practice is to build the technique, but also build the confidence of, yes, I can do this. Have you tried starting that Be Natural and just not have the mindset of worry or concern or questioning?
I've tried. I think it's the dynamics that also scare me. So I have tried playing it like super loud and then dialing back the dynamics. That kind of helps sometimes.
Yeah, because you're approaching from something that feels more comfortable, and you're keeping that confidence that you had with those more comfortable things. Yeah. Sometimes I like to make things harder on myself to make it easier. So doing a no tongue, no poo breath attack, like a huh. So having no attack makes the lips work a little harder. And then once I've done that a few times, then I've got even more confidence that the lips are going to do the work. Is that what you're about to say just then, Sean? I just saw that you typed in tongueless attacks. Do you want to describe that anymore, Sean?
Sure. It's so, for me, the idea is there's always this little like disruptive section at the beginning of an attack if your aim is off. So I like to work on tapers and that just leading edge of the note so that I know exactly where the sweet spot is. So it's going to have a clean start no matter what's going on.
This is all relationship building. You are building a relationship with you and your flute, but you're also building a relationship with you and your B natural, and you're building a relationship with you and your B natural at 8 a.m. playing piano, right? These are all things. And then Laurel, I see that you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I'm going from not being able to be involved to actually foregoing what I was supposed to be doing. What I will sometimes have my students do too, if the poo thing doesn't work, and when I have them do that, I actually have them start with their lips closed and just use the force of the air to make the opening. So they have a tendency to just want to open their lips. But the thing I was talking about that what my students do is to actually take a breath, hold it, put your tongue in place, hold it right there, and then release. Because so often we just do it in one, like this, and it's I don't think it's that clean. So especially for something that needs to be really clean of an entry. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Okay.
It does, yes. And that also stimulates a thought in my mind that sometimes we don't breathe in the context of what we're playing, where oftentimes our first breath is right? And here, especially it's the first note you have all the time, you might breathe in through your mouth slower. You might even breathe in through your nose. As long as the pianist can see where your beat is. Taking the rush of the inhale away gives us a little bit more ease, and then it'll be a greater start. Thank you so much, Sadie, and thanks everyone for the discussion about starting a soft note at the beginning of the piece. It is definitely something that I think a lot of us fear a little bit. So the more we do it, the less we fear it. Other things in Summerland that we can talk about. Would somebody demonstrate either the beginning again or a different part of Summerland, please? Who else is working on Summerland right now? I should have written it down. Nobody is eager. All right, so I want to talk a little bit, because I know I would be intimidated by it, of the 30-second notes in measure 36 and 38. How are people feeling about those 30-second notes in those two measures? So different ways of practicing this. You maybe have done this with your teachers or in the group already. I like to go beat to beat, or beat plus a note, and I can do that at various tempos. Sometimes I do it at the very fast tempo, sometimes I do a little slower. So there's going to be overlap. I'm going to start with the A, E, A, B, D. Then repeat the D, D, B, D, Feast A, G, E, D, B, B, D, E, G, B. So beat plus a note. And if there's any beats that don't feel comfortable, I'm going to go back and practice that more. So for me, beat 3, the one starting on the D natural, that's not easy in the hand right there. It is just a B minor arpeggio right there. So you can practice that just as part of your normal technical warm-up, and then look at it and say, I got that. That's what that is. Then when I begin to look at the bigger chunk, I might approach it with a rhythm distortion, maybe starting with the swing style, long, short. And whenever I do a rhythm distortion, I want to do all of the variations to make it balanced. So if I do this long, short, then I also do short, long. To make sure that I'm balancing out the muscle memory and all of the intervals have the same rapid approach. Is that something that people practice frequently, or is that new to anybody out there? Would anybody care, or would anybody be willing to demonstrate practicing that measure in one or two different ways for us, so that we can talk about it as a group?
I can if nobody else wants to.
Sure, let's hear it, Sadie.
Okay. Let's see. So I guess that was the first way. The second way was this sort of a swing, or I'm sorry, can you show me again?
Sure. Something long, short, long.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Wonderful. And let's balance it out with the opposite. Short, long, short, long. And I think for the long, short, I think swing style, because, I don't know, Christmas, that one Christmas tune that we played in band was swing. That was my first swing experience. And for the short, long, I think bebop, even though I don't think it's technically bebop style, but the word bebop, it feels short, long to me. So let's try the short, long to balance it out.
Let's see.
Yeah, and all three ways sounded quite good. That measure might not take a lot of practice for you to make it feel even. But when you're doing that, were there any places that didn't feel as comfortable as the rest?
Yes, it's the D natural piece, and up to the F sharp. I can't decide if I'm going to use the alternate fingering or not. Yeah. When I take it at tempo, it's very messy in there.
So it's one of those things where a run or a piece of music is only as strong as the weakest link or whatever. So
Yeah.
it's so tempting to want to start at the beginning and go to the end every time. But if it's just the one beat that's giving you issues, then some thought around that. And as I mentioned, that particular part is the part that feels uncomfortable for me too. But in
Yeah.
my mind, when I just think B minor arpeggio and practice that a few more times, then when I come back to the music, I can say, I already know that, right?
Right.
And that's a really powerful thing to be able to tell ourselves. I already know how to do that. I've already done that successfully. I know I can do it. And that confidence build is really pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Any other approaches that you all take for 16th note sections or runs, especially these that aren't stepwise or scale patterns, but have different intervals in them?
For me,
I'll
it's
give
just it's usually just one note, one small interval that gets me. So that's what I practice, just getting from one note to another. And it's usually just one little thing.
And that is a perfect segue into the other thing I was going to mention. Another way I would have students practice this is what I call skipping. I teach this all the time. It's not really skipping, you're doubling the note, doubling notes, but I call it skipping because it kind of feels
Oh,
like
you
you're
mean to
skipping
play,
down.
play the note twice? Da, 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 da,
So
da, da. Mhm.
for this example, I would play A E, E A B, B D, D B, B D, D F sharp. And notice if any of the intervals aren't responding well, either for center tone or for ease of fingers. There was one that didn't feel good for me in my fingers, and that time, surprisingly, was not the DBD, but it was the F sharp A didn't feel good in my fingers. I felt like my G key was sluggish. So in that, thinking of the B7, then you could take the arpeggio even further to work the technique of it. But the skipping exercise to help identify what parts of the link don't feel as strong as the rest of the chain. Anybody want to try that out for us? All right, with no further ado, I'm not going to pull any teeth here today. Does anybody want to try any other part of Summerland, including the upper register ending, to talk about ways that you can approach that?
I just want to throw out one more idea for practicing these sections. I don't have my flute with me. I'm on vacation, but otherwise I'd try and demonstrate. But just because a sequence isn't part of an arpeggio that we regularly practice doesn't mean you can't use arpeggiated patterns to practice them, right? So take a section that has notes in a sequence that aren't part of our regular practice routine, put it into the structure of an arpeggio and practice it that way. Just extend it beyond the pattern that's on the page and repeat the sequence so that you get familiar with the intervals and the feeling of moving between those notes.
I love that. And that when I was in grad school, I worked with some guest band director, and I was about to take an audition. And since he was a guest artist, I said, "Hey, can I just play my audition for you?" And I wasn't very clean on one of the runs. And he said, "Practice it forward and backward. You get just as much benefit in your brain and muscle memory." I've never actually looked to see if that's like a research statement, but I've gone ahead and believed it because it's just more fun to believe your teachers, right? And so, along the lines of what Sean said, I might approach this starting the second note, the E, and go to the D forward and backwards, just those notes. E, A, B, D, B, A, E, A, B, D. The next one starting on the B, which is that B7. Starting on the A, going to the B. Starting the B to B. And and practicing those as if they are just beautiful little magical moments. And then you begin to develop a relationship of liking playing those notes because they felt free and lovely and beautiful. And then once you have that relationship with those notes too, then when we come to the piece, they feel better. Thank
The
you,
other
Sean.
thing is like when you find specific intervals that have a little glitch in them, like you might find the F sharp to A, for example. It helps to realize that if the right hand on the F sharp key comes up sooner than the G key, you'll hear a glitch. If the G key comes up a little early, you won't. So if you shift your focus and timing just a little bit, even if they aren't exactly together, you'll still get a smoother effect.
I love it. My teacher, Marie, used to have me do that on purpose. So I don't know if you can see my hands, but I'm going to lift my G key, then my F sharp. On certain glitchy notes like that. So great. You just need to make sure that your F sharp key is up sometime during the A because the next note is a G. And if that F sharp key is lingering, then you'll be playing an F sharp on the way down. But
yeah,
great.
it's a subtle thing. It's just, sometimes just shifting your focus to the other hand during that part of the run will get the job done.
Send a little bit more of your electricity to that one finger. A little bit more of the focus can really clean things up. Cool. Was that kind of what you're talking about, Sean?
Exactly.
Awesome. So I wish you had a flute because you always demonstrate so beautifully when you do.
Next time.
All right. Where are you on vacation?
I am in Temecula, California, which is one of the wine country areas out here. So that is the plan for today, is to go explore wines.
Oh, okay. So maybe it makes sense not to take your flute. I've had a couple of practices on flute after having a glass or two of wine, and they don't tend to be the best practices. So
no, but it does make etudes more enjoyable sometimes.
It does. Well, if the audience has it too, then it makes your wife's experience of your etudes better also then, right?
This is true.
All right, so let's go ahead and shift our focus over to the Chopin variations. Again, both of these pieces are being used in the National Flute Association Adult Amateur Competitions. This group, we aren't directly affiliated with the NFA in any way, but I think it's a great opportunity to have external motivation to be entering a competition. This group is external motivation, but entering a competition can be even more. So this month's pieces are both part of the middle section of the adult competition. Is it intermediate? Is that what it's called? Novice, intermediate, and advanced. So these variations are in E minor, and as we mentioned before, just really getting comfortable with your E minor scales and E minor arpeggios are really important. And as Sean mentioned with the breath attacks, this is a key that to me is especially useful to practice the tongueless articulation or breath attacks. Because for me and my flute, there are 3 notes that want to crack in this scale. And one of which, the E in the staff, sure happens a whole lot. So before I play this piece, breath attack the whole scale or the arpeggios or minimum that E. Until you don't feel tension in your embouchure. Because most of the time when we crack a note, it's because something got tight, right? So if you can practice that and begin to convince yourself you don't need to work too hard for that note or whatever note might be giving you problems, can be really useful. So who all is working on this variations on the theme from Rossini's La Cenerentola? Joan, Sadie, Chris started it. Justin, cool. Hey Justin, do you have your flute? I haven't heard you play before.
I do have my flute. I may play. We'll see. It's been 20 some years since I played in front of people. So my anxiety is crazy high right now. So
oh my gosh, awesome! So
just kind of hanging out in the back, checking things out.
That's what this group is literally for, is to get past all of those feelings. So there's a bunch of people in this group who are professional performers or teachers. There's a bunch of people in this group who are amateurs or adult enthusiasts or students or everything in between. For me, it was kind of opposite. I reached burnt out level and hated the flute, and I had to rediscover why I wanted to play the flute. And so for others, it's they took time off from the flute and they're rediscovering how to make all the things happen. But that's why we're here, is so together we can get past those anxieties and get past those fears that it's not going to be good enough. So welcome, and go ahead and just show us your flute. You don't have to play it just yet. Yay, he's got a flute. Would you play an E for us, though, just for fun, and try it in the staff, and try those tongueless attacks a few times? Like you're going foo or huh or something just open without a tongue or a lip. Yeah. And Justin, have you ever tried starting notes without a tongue or your lips before? Just that open shape?
So yeah, it's kind of new for me. So I was burnt out as well when I left college. I'm a saxophone player first. So when I came back, I just been playing flute a year. So I quit playing for like 22 years. So this is all a new realm for me because I'm used to having a mouthpiece and a reed. So very different.
These tongueless, and as a doubler, these tongueless attacks are especially useful because without starting with the embouchure closed, having it in that open shape, we're training the lip muscles to engage as much as they need to and no further. So it's building that embouchure response that you lack when you have a instrument in your mouth. You don't have to have the upper lip and bottom lip working in the same kind of way. So tongueless attacks might be one of the best ways for you to feel confident switching between instruments. Are you still playing saxophone or playing it again?
Yeah, I am. I picked everything up about a year ago. So it's nice to be back. It's just the confidence of youth really messes with you. And then you get old and you have all these insecurities that develop, right? So
I know. Weren't we told that we would become less insecure the older we got? And
that's what I thought, but
and college helps in so many ways, but also the whole thing, like you finish your bachelor's and you think you know everything, you finish your master's and think you know nothing, and then you do your doctorate, realize nobody else knows anything either. So we're all just here on this planet exploring where we are. So Justin, I want to hear those E's one more time, and when you feel like your face is completely relaxed and you're still centering those E's, then take a calm breath and then start adding your tongue in for the two for a more pronounced entrance. Yeah, so Justin, first tell me, what did it feel like to you?
It relaxes my face a lot more to start the other way. I don't feel like my E cracks. It doesn't want to crack as bad.
Did you all notice the intonation change too by the third E? Heh, heh, ha, ha. The intonation settled down and your tone became so much more warm. So that's really a great improvement in just 4 notes, Justin. Pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Would you be willing to demonstrate any of the opening of this Rossini for us?
I'm good, thank you.
Sure.
I appreciate it.
There's no arm twisting going on here. Anybody else be willing to start off this Rossini? Nathan, awesome. And Nathan, you missed the opening welcome. You're in Phoenix, Arizona?
Yes.
Excellent. Bravo! Let's start with a big round of applause for Nathan. Great playing, and you put yourself out there. Both are huge. We'll start, Nathan, as you know I love to do. What did you like about your playing just now?
Being able to play, I guess, right now. Decided it. I like the feel of the playing. Just picking up the flute, playing is a pleasure for me.
Good. And you played so well. It was no accurate. and you did and the articulation came across really clear. So
Thank you.
always start with the things that you do well. Pat yourself on the back, right? It's so easy to be like, oh, I missed whatever. So great. Are there places that don't feel comfortable before I give a few just random suggestions?
I hadn't warmed up, so the tone wasn't really, as clean, clear as what I would have liked, but it would come in time after I had warmed up, or did things.
Sure, yeah.
That's about it, really.
Now, just a little suggestion on finesse.
Yeah, sure.
In the third measure, we have the double grace or 32nd notes, depending on the variation of the E, F sharp, E to the D sharp.
Right.
Have you thought about using the trill fingering or the middle finger F sharp for that one note?
Oh, no. Try that.
Let's try it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So instead of moving the right hand from 1, 2 to 3, leaving the 1, 2 down and just lifting your 1. E,
Okay.
Fis, E, Ds. That middle finger F sharp, I don't generally like in the middle staff unless it's something quick and ornamental like this. So if you're going to sustain the tone of the F sharp, use the real F sharp fingering. But for this case, I think it makes it feel pretty delicate in the finger wise. Does that feel comfortable?
Yeah, it does. Thoughtfully.
Let's try it in the context of the phrase.
But yeah.
And sorry to stop you, but the last note in the second measure is a F double sharp. So that X in front of the note is an accidental that tells us to raise it 2 half steps. So fingering wise, we'll have an F sharp, and then that F double sharp will be fingered like a G natural.
Got it.
So we have F sharp, F double sharp, G sharp, and that's just a little chromatic 3 note. Let's try that. First note's an F sharp though. So F sharp, F double sharp, G sharp.
Okay, got it.
How does that feel?
A lot better, yes. A lot
A
better.
lot better? Good. So there are a few double sharps in this piece, and that happens when we have more sharps in the key signature, right? So in the 6th measure, we have the same figure, F sharp, F double sharp, G sharp. So we say that's enharmonically the same as, or enharmonically a G. So the F sharp, double sharp would be fingered like a G. Are there any other notes in here, just while we're glancing through, that look confusing? I see at least 7 F double sharps, quite a few. Anything else note-wise sticking out to anybody? All right, so beautifully done there, Nathan. And as you get more comfortable with your E major scale, I think you'll take all of the hesitation out of that runaway too. Would you play a 1 octave E major scale? And if that's not super comfortable, I'm going to quick type the notes in the chat. Do you have, in case anybody isn't feeling good? So E. You got it. You don't need me to type it out. Awesome. And so do the same scale, but start on the F sharp. Some scale mode practice, starting the G sharp. And now say, no problem, and play the pickups to the 5th measure. Go ahead and start as it's written. So on the B, those triplet pickups to measure 5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Already more clean. So now that we've worked on two little finesses, would you start at the beginning again and play those first 8 measures for us again? Awesome. I don't know if you all will agree with me, but I think that already sounded so much cleaner. Just gaining a little bit of confidence with that scale and the articulation and that fingering. Yes, yes, Yvonne says. Good. How do you feel about it, Nathan?
Lots better, yes, a lot better. And
Awesome. All right, and I think Denise said that she would play out for us a little bit. Denise, I know that you want to leave your camera off, but are you starting at the beginning or a different part of this Chopin?
I can play whatever part you would like.
You know what I would like is whatever part you want to play.
I'll just start at the beginning. Oops, sorry. Key change.
Wonderful job.
Thank you.
Really great. All right, Denise, tell me a few things that you liked about your performance.
I guess a lot of the rhythm was good. I'm a little shaky on the first variation on the technique.
We'll
And
talk
I
about that in a
could-
second. Give me a few more positives first.
Well, I'm trying out a new flute, and it's a Muramatsu GX with the Tsubasa head joint. It's not mine. I'm doing a trial right now, and I like the tone I get out of it, but I'm still getting used to that.
Yeah. Yeah, your tone was quite nice. I actually just tried a Muramatsu GX with a Tsubasa head joint last week, and it was lovely to play. So good. Yes, you had great rhythm, great tone. Intonation was nice too, says Yvonne. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. There was one thing that you did where you kind of changed from my version, the rhythm in 37, the repeat. You did a little bit more of a length. I liked the variation you did on the second time. I don't know if you changed that rhythm on that one note purposefully or if it just kind of came naturally to you, but it was a nice little change, especially when we're doing the same thing twice. You had great releases. Are there parts that you felt less comfortable with? You mentioned the first variation.
It's just that the technique on that is tricky, especially with the large leap downward to the low C sharp. That always scares me.
How many people feel confident jumping from any note to a low C sharp? I don't think anybody raised their hands, Denise. So you are in flute company with that. And we'll start with talking about that. One of my favorite things to do is borrowed from Moise also is what I call growing intervals. So starting with that C sharp, and then you can do it chromatically or diatonically. My flute got cold already. So I'm going to go diatonic. So C sharp, D sharp, C sharp, to E, F sharp, G sharp, A. Moving beyond what we need, which is the second octave A. Is that something that you've tried before, Denise?
No, but I'm writing that down. That's a good exercise.
Yeah, would you mind trying it for us? And I know that low C sharp might not speak the way you want it to every time. It doesn't for any of us, I don't think.
Okay, so I'm going to start on low C sharp and then I'm not going up
D
chromatically.
sharp, C sharp. So you could do
Okay.
chromatic, but to save time, maybe just
Stay in the
diatonic or
scale?
notes of this. Yep. So C sharp,
Okay.
D sharp, C sharp.
Yeah, I can't even get it out right now. Hold on.
And that's a tricky one because the pinky pull, right? E, F sharp,
Like that?
yeah, keep going.
Oh, I fingered that wrong.
Now, how many times did you just nail a C sharp? A bunch, right?
Yeah.
And you did the interval you need and more. So the fact that you did a double octave leap down to the C sharp probably implies that we can do slightly less than a double octave leap down, the A to that C sharp. So let's just try the A C sharp again. Awesome. With that exercise, you can do different articulations. Slur. Slur down. Etc. Slur up. Breath attack is really good for that one because again it makes you work harder than normal playing, and then tonguing like written and other ways. So the more repetitions, the more variations we do on a practice, the more parts of our total flute playing self understands how to do that. So now that you did that little warm up, let's try it in context. Let's just add the beat before the D sharp B B, and let's do it slurred and stop on the C sharp.
Is that slurred on your edition? Because mine
It is not. So I'm practicing different than the way I would perform or play to shift my mindset out of the music and into the skills that I want to develop stronger.
Oh,
So let's try
okay.
it.
So you want me to slur it?
Yep, I want you to purposefully not play it like it's written. So we're working something else. Yeah, try all of it slurred.
What?
Yeah, all slurred, so no separation at all. Uh-huh. And let's try breath attack. Again. One more time. Feel a little bit more centered with the first D sharp and then that last C sharp. That's harder than normal playing. So let's add the tongue in for normal playing. Nailed it, right? And of course, you'd want to do it a few more times because then you begin to build confidence. So repetition isn't just to change or fix. Repetition is also to help solidify. Denise, how did it feel that time through?
A lot better.
A lot better? Good. One little thought too, in the measure 20, or from this variation, if you skip the pickup, 1, 2, 3, in the fourth measure of it, it should start with a little rest on the B natural, and then a B natural. I think if you thought of the octave B natural as the end of the phrase, it will be even more compelling to have the next few notes feel like pickups.
Yes.
So a hint of separation or a hint of vibrato on that top B natural or something, and then thinking of that lower B natural that's slurred to the C sharp as starting the next phrase. Can we do just that measure where you maybe do something to that B natural, whether you finesse it with some vibrato or more of a lift, and then drive into that the B natural in the lower octave and on the third beat of it? It felt like I had so much more forward motion already. Would you go back to the start and play just those first 8 measures for us again? Of this
You want
variation.
me to start on variation 1?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Bravo! Beautiful vibrato on that high E. Your C sharp spoke, I think, more clearly than before. And the phrasing in measure 20 was so clear that I knew exactly what you were saying phrase-wise there. That was nice. How did it feel?
Much better.
Good. How did it sound to everybody else? Great? Big thumbs up. All right, so time flies once we start doing this. And yes, we'll be doing another one next month and the month after. And I hope each month we become more confident in knowing that this is a place where you can share your playing of the flute, whatever that means, whether it's 3 variations or 1 note, whether you've been playing the flute every day for the past 50 years or you're playing the flute for the first time for 5 days. Everyone is welcome to contribute what they have brought with us today. So the next one will be on the 2nd Saturday of December. Wow. Which will be Saturday, December 14th. We'll be kind of finishing up the Chopin that week. So we're going to extend the Chopin beyond 4 weeks because it is a little bit trickier in some of those variations. And the December solo for both groups is going to be the Foray Sicilian, which is a little bit more simple, or at least shorter in a lot of ways. It's a tricky key signature again. So we'll overlap December with both the Chopin and the Foray in that way. But that'll be Saturday, December 14th at the same time, 11 o'clock Eastern, 10 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock California time. All of the other time zones in there. I don't think we have anybody internationally today. We usually have someone in Taiwan and someone in Canada and a couple of other people. So it is really hard to find a time that works for everybody. People in London and stuff like that too. Once again, it's been wonderful to work for you. Let's thank Flute World for supporting this group. Remember, when you do buy things, to try to get that 10% off, because, well, you may as well. And I hope to see you again soon, and I look forward to hearing your posts on the page. Let me know if you ever have any questions.